I'm going to take you out to the range today. I'm doing some final load verification before I head out for Texas. I'm going to be testing between my 180 grain hybrid Bergers and my 184 grain hybrid Bergers. Let's go take a look. What you're about to see is me out at my 1,000-yard practice range. And really, this is just more of a validation of whether I would be taking my 180 grain load or my 184 grain bullet load. Both of them are shooting really well. I've had really good success at 600 yards on a regular basis with both of them. And so I want to take it out to 1,000, do a little bit of, again, validation to see what is working. But you're going to see a new tool out there. So I bought this maybe a couple months ago. It is called the SG Pulse. And I bought it out of somewhere in Europe from SG Shooter Global. And I guess since then, Paramount Tactical is now the exclusive US distributor for these, but this thing is really cool. And I also picked up the timer, which talks to this, and it helps make the video that you're about to see. Now, if you want, you can always pick up the level by itself. They're about 160 bucks, I think. And it's not totally necessary to have the timer. The timer just helps talk to it so that if you're recording, it's going to get more data. But you can certainly do everything you want with just the level. I was using just my screen record, and the level shows up in there. So you go to the program, you go to the app and pull up the free shooting, and you can see what the level is doing and then just screen record yourself, and that does 95% of what you want. The timer just makes it a little bit easier for my recording purposes. But I bought this because I have some friends that shoot PRS at a very high level, and they said this thing is the absolute bomb when it comes to, you know, barrel inclination, torque, you know, positioning, stuff like that. So I'm really trying to see if I can utilize it in my F-class shooting to just pull out those little pieces of body position that might be causing an issue, because it doesn't take much, as you know, to influence, you know, an inch or two one way or the other at 1,000 yards. So I've got this hooked up. We're going to see if there's really any correlation. I have been using it off and on for a little bit now. And because an F-open setup is so stable to begin with compared to what is happening in the PRS world, where you might have some rocking, you know, you're positioning on a car hood or a tank trap or different things like that, and you've got a lot of different barrel inclination and torque and turning and stuff like that. I have not seen as much discrepancy with this yet, but I'm still trying to shoot enough so that I can look for correlations that might help me. So I'm going to walk you through maybe 4 or 5 targets worth that I shot at 1,000 yards. Ultimately, I will tell you, spoiler ahead, that I picked the 184 grains over the 180s, simply because, as you're going to see, they were just a little more consistent across a wider range of my tuner settings, and they were shooting really well. So let's take a look. I'll walk you through, and we'll have a little bit of fun with it. This is 180s. Not the greatest start, but a little over half a minute, and it definitely had a little bit of vertical. So let's see what the 184s do. Test 1 with the 184s.
This is looking good.
Now this one was a little bit different. It had a great group down at the bottom, and then it had that vertical component. And in looking at the pulse system, everything was pretty consistent. Velocities were consistent. But what's really weird is that one shot had a much lower barrel inclination after the round was fired. I think it was around 3 degrees or maybe 4, whereas all the other shots were 8 or 9 degrees. So that is something I'm going to look at. Okay, here we go. Test number 2. We're going to shoot the 180s and the 184s together this time. Tuner setting in 10. All right, and now the 184s. This was the 180s, and you can see that shot number 4 definitely was up there. The only thing I saw on the pulse was a little bit of an erratic on the center meter there, a little bit erratic. The 184s were pretty solid. Honestly, the 180s were great except for that high shot. So not really sure. You know, I always count in the high shots. You have to, but again, with that high shot, the 184s had a slight edge for me, even though I think the 180s probably shot better in that particular situation, minus the high shot. So this test 3. So this is the third row, and we are going to shoot the 180s and the 184s again. Oh, we need to come in another 10. Now we're on to the 184s. This is a little better. The 180s came in a little bit under half a minute. But see how there was double grouping? There was a high and a low set of groups. And the 184s, by comparison, it was a nicer shaped group. Even though they were about the same vertical, I can tune out that 184 a little bit because it's more of a complete group rather than a double group. So the edge went to the 184s on this one. Okay, so last test, we are going to be on...
Is it a piece of shit? Not going to be as easy as I'd hope.
The 180 and 184s, and now we are out 10 on the tuner.
Good, I might want that guy back. Did you get the new?
I haven't seen it yet. And now we're on the 184s. All right, well, we'll see how that shakes out. Now the 180s just got big. I mean, those are really big. That's well over a minute. The 184s, again, they kept really good sub 3-inch vertical. The wind was picking up, so the left and right is definitely conditioned because I was doing a center hold or, same point of aim. But huge difference there. And that group alone showed me that even though they were kind of close and kind of battled back and forth, that the 184s definitely had the advantage there. So that's it at the range. Let's head back to the shop. And there we go. That is all of my testing that I did to just validate whether I was going to take the 180 grain load or the 184 grain bullet load. And really, if you look at it, the way I approach it is I moved the tuner a bunch, not to see if it would get tighter for the sake of just having a tighter group, but I was looking to see which load between the two held up across a wider tuner range. And that ultimately was the 184 grain. You saw that anywhere from out 10 marks to in 20 marks, effectively more than half of a tuner rotation was pretty stable on the vertical, and that is ultimately what I'm looking for when I take a load somewhere. Because I'm going to a range that is in totally different temperature, humidity, all kinds of stuff, it's very hard sometimes to predict what your rounds are going to do. You can certainly do your best. This is where some level of experience comes in. Some people will bump or drop their load depending on whether it's going to be hotter, colder, more humid, stuff like that. You ultimately have, like, I've got a tuner, so I can obviously make some tuner adjustments when I get there if I feel like it's going to help me. And sometimes it's just plain dumb luck whether your load holds up. And, sometimes the bottom falls out of your load and they just start going everywhere. Like, it just does happen. So all we can do is test, do our best, validate as much as we can, and then, go and shoot the match. So we're going to head out there. We're going to have some fun, and we'll see how it goes. As far as the pulse goes, still, as I said, trying to figure out exactly what it's helping me achieve. You saw most of the vertical there was pretty consistent. The barrel inclination, or the barrel jump as it were, was fairly consistent. And in the cases where I had a random flyer that was outside of the rest of the group, there were times where I could look at this and say, okay, it went really erratic. There's something, maybe in my shoulder or my trigger pull, something that caused it to fly weird. And yet other times where it would move a little bit in that same kind of way, but land right with the others. So it might just be a very, very small effect that it's showing. Ultimately, it's just going to take some more time. Again, I only have a few hundred rounds over this thing, and I think this is just going to be one of those tools that the more I shoot over it, the more I'm going to start seeing patterns emerge, and ultimately that's what I'm looking for. And I'm just, it's all about taking out those little things at this point. And if this, for 160 bucks, I think it was money well spent so far, helps me, save a point here or there. For me, that's money well spent, because oftentimes a match is determined by a point, or second place is determined by a point or less, and sometimes just X's. So I'm just trying to do everything I can to be the best competitor that I can when I go to a match. I hope that with that, anything in this video helped. I know it was an unusual video compared to other ones that I've done. Brand new format, watching with the pulse. But I think as I do more of these videos, shooting with the pulse and watching and seeing all that kind of stuff, I think it's really going to help everybody watch what's going on. And the next video that I do, I will put myself so that you will be able to see the pulse and my complete trigger pull at that point. Again, my intention here was to just have the focus on the pulse and just watch that to see if it showed anything. And because of where I was, it wasn't really practical to try to get me in the shot at the same time. But the next one I do, I definitely will. With that, I do hope everybody gets a chance to go out and shoot, have some fun, and we will talk later.